Oi, this is the Profanity Gnome, and I'm here to tell you that if you're under 13 years old, fuck off this video! Get the fuck off YouTube! Get your mama to get your dad's cock out of her ears and actually be a parent! This is for adults only! And for everybody else, enjoy the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below what you think, you fuck buckets. To stand out among the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud, till mine is the only face that you see. Gonna stand out till you notice me. Okay, let's see what they got to offer. Ooh, null ray. What's that? Warning, do not stare directly into it, otherwise it will cause permanent blindness. Hey, Deadbeard, how's it going? Looks like somebody's getting a little funny with the guns. I'm so proud of you. Guys, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And why not? Because every artist knows you're not supposed to look at something until the final product is done. It's against the rules. Well, if it's against the rules, I think we should go. On what rules? Whose authority? Who came up with the It's against the rules. This is War for Cybertron Siege Episode 4. The episode begins in a grim sight. Ultra Magnus, alongside all the Decepticon higher-ups, are being led to the Autobot home base. Wait a minute. This isn't the home base. No, this is Alpha Trion's memorial, after Megatron killed him. Yep, even though that they were on their way in order to seek the Autobot base, it seems like Ultra Magnus finally made the right choice in telling Megatron to fuck off and not revealing the location of the Autobot base. Megatron, genuinely believing him and not revealing where his home base is located, decides to abruptly kill him. Stone cold dead on the ground. Just as Jetfire shows up. Yes, if there was anything to cement his decision to leave the Decepticons, it's probably this. But just as the light is leaving Ultra Magnus' eyes, another light takes its place. And soon, several sparkles just rise up from Ultra Magnus' corpse into the sky, and then flurrying, running through the ground. But where are these little sparkles going? Well, that's when we cut to another spot on Cybertron, where Bumblebee just got a major payday from all that energon he swiped from the one battle. When all of a sudden, all the fairy sparkles just immediately surround Bumblebee and start going inside of him, causing the poor little Autobot to shut down temporarily, with his eyes glowing the same level of green. Oh, Bumblebee, I forgot you were a character in this show. I feel like Hasbro just turned Bumblebee into one of those characters where no matter what generation he's in now, he's gonna be of some sublime importance to the series. We quickly cut back to the Ark, where Optimus already senses the feeling of Ultra Magnus' spark going out, and something called the Alpha Trion protocols being activated. But no time to explain that now, as we cut back to the Decepticons, as Megatron is telling all of his subordinates to figure out what the hell all that shit was, when Starscream enters the fray, and he finally does the one thing he's been wanting to do this entire series: shoot Jetfire in the face. And when Megatron demands an explanation, Starscream actually justifies his actions by saying that Jetfire killed Skywarp, which is true. Jetfire doesn't even deny it, saying that the Decepticons are no longer the Institute of Honor and Glory that he once thought they were. And so he's backing out. Megatron then orders Starscream to do the one thing he's been wanting to do: kill Jetfire, and thus they go on the attack. Jetfire manages to defend himself and tries to get away, and the Seekers chase after him. They go through a bit of an aerial combat when Starscream finally manages to shoot Jetfire in the back, causing him to crash. Don't worry, Jetfire! We can rebuild you! We have the technology. but maybe not the necessary engineering skills. We cut back to Bumblebee, who wakes up with the mother of all hangovers, as it appears those fairy sparkles that went into his head are causing him to see things with a rather different perspective. And he doesn't know how to process all the information being thrown into his head. Meanwhile, we cut back to the Autobots, as Optimus is building a team in order to help rebuild the space bridge, because that, right at the moment, is their only plan of getting out. As for their ship, he puts Elita 1 in charge of trying to repair it and get it off the ground. As for Optimus himself, he has people to alert of Ultra Magnus's passing. We cut to the space bridge team as they're trying to make their way to the space bridge, as they're trying to weave between some of the Seekers' patrols. With Impactor there, they're able to predict all the patrols when they're happening, so it's easy for them to get to the space bridge. Meanwhile, Optimus Prime manages to make his way to a weird sector, where he begins to talk to a very unknown factor in this series, the Guardians. The Guardians of Cybertron, who apparently had a bit of a trusting in Ultra Magnus. He was their friend. Optimus told them about his passing, or rather, his murder. And while that is unfortunate, the Guardians still refuse to take part in either side of the conflict, saying that while it does suck that their planet is dying, as long as it's not a direct threat to all of Cybertron, their party is to be neutral. Despite Optimus trying to give his best speech to encourage them to fight, they just adamantly refuse to. Now hold on, Guardians. Jen, don't. Are you telling me that even though your entire planet has been nothing but a shit show for who knows how long, you're not going to try to take part and end the conflict? It may be true that Optimus is no saint in this, but hear me out. Megatron, the leader of the Decepticons, wants to use your Allspark to transform everyone, including you, into Decepticons to serve under his rule, as slaves. While it is your right to remain neutral in this conflict, the way I see it, if you choose to do nothing, and the person who you don't like becomes in charge, then you don't have a right to complain when they start doing things that you don't like, because you're the ones who chose not to interfere. Well, after Optimus leaves the Guardians, we cut back to the space bridge rebuilding team, as efforts are slow, but effective. And there's a good eye keeping watch over the Seekers that might be patrolling. However, something inevitably goes wrong, as the Seekers begin patrolling at odd schedules and they're discovered. They do manage to shoot down the Seekers, but that's the least of their concerns, because if that team doesn't report back in, then they could have more Seekers on the way, which means a whole more trouble for them. This ain't good. We also cut back to the fortress in Kaon, as Megatron is debriefed that Starscream managed to kill Jetfire. And so, Megatron decides he needs a new leader of the Seekers, and Starscream has just proven himself. So, against the better wishes of Soundwave and Shockwave, Starscream has officially been promoted to the leader of the Seeker Squadrons, and Starscream couldn't be happier. We later cut back to the Autobot base, as Elita 1 and Wheeljack are doing everything they can to try to get the ship airborne, but without Energon, no dice. Optimus comes in, and there's a bit of a sad scene as Optimus begins to lament about all of his choices during the war. Elita 1 and Wheeljack said that he did everything in his power, but soon they're interrupted by Bumblebee, who tries to interrogate Optimus about a name that he should not know, Alpha Trion. When Optimus hears this, he realizes what had happened. So he takes Bumblebee into a room and explains the situation. While Optimus wielded the Matrix of Leadership, granting him all leadership of the Autobots, it was Ultra Magnus who held all the wisdom of the Autobots. History, battle strategies, tactics. Any bit of Autobot information was inside Ultra Magnus. As a failsafe, the Matrix of Leadership and the information were separated. And when Ultra Magnus died, the information went into the next worthy host for the information. In this case, Bumblebee.
So wait, Bumblebee is the Avatar now? I swear, they're doing everything in their power in order to make this little yellow bug the most important Autobot next to Optimus.
Well, that Avatar comment may not be too far off. As Bumblebee begins to access the information, he gets a visit from the spectral form of Alpha Trion, who informs Bumblebee that he was deemed worthy by the information because all he wanted to do was protect and survive. And that's the best thing that the Autobots need right now, the ability to survive. That's why he was chosen. And so he has to stand by Optimus whether he likes it or not. Not necessarily out of his own protection, but rather for Optimus's. He's the best hope they got. He has to stand by them and support him, through better or worse. With all of Autobot intelligence, literally, swarming in Bumblebee's head in order to help him out during the best and worst times. Well, he gets out of the Avatar state and tells Optimus exactly what he wanted to hear. He knows the location of the Allspark. So, wait, did that technically mean Ultra Magnus knew the location of the Allspark? Oh, there's gonna be hell to pay much later on down the road, but if that is the case... Well, before Optimus has any time to process this, an alert sounds. Him and Bumblebee head to the main hangar, as Elita 1 says that they're being approached by a Decepticon. Just one. So as they prepare for battle, we see that the Decepticon that's approaching them has a bit of a crash landing, as we see Jetfire is alive, but not necessarily well. But when pointed at gunpoint to ask what he wants, they're all given the surprise of a lifetime. Jetfire wants to switch sides. And that is the end of Transformers War for Cybertron Siege Episode 4. Episode 4, or as I want to call it, the final nail in the coffin of why Ultra Magnus in this series is a terrible character. I mean, there is no way in shape or form that little tidbit at the end could be possibly overlooked. Bumblebee had instant notification on where the Allspark was located due to the processing power of all of Autobot intelligence, whose previous host was Ultra Magnus. So, by extension, Ultra Magnus knew the location of the Allspark this whole time, but didn't bother to tell Optimus. I mean, even if you wanted to say he knew he was being tracked by Soundwave, he still alerted them. So, either he did know and didn't care, or did have enough common sense to not reveal it over an open con link, which led to their situation now. Oh my god, Ultra Magnus, almost every single decision in this series, you fucked it up. But that is a discussion for another day. But for right now, Ultra Magnus, you are the worst. Like, the absolute worst. As far as everything else in this episode, it's kind of just setting the status quo of what we knew was going to happen eventually. Jetfire, of course, was going to betray the Decepticons and join the Autobots. Bumblebee had to be brought back into the series somehow, even it had to have been a Mcguffin. And of course, Starscream had to be the leader of the Seekers at some point. But we do get a bit of Chekhov's gun with the Guardians. You don't show something like that and not expect a bullet to leave the chamber. And we also get to see a bit of interactions with Impactor, with the Space Bridge team, and I am curious of where that story is headed, even though I didn't really focus on it this time. There was much bigger lore drips to fry at the time. So now that we have not only a turncoat Jetfire, but a Mcguffin Bumblebee who knows exactly where their Mcguffin is, there's only one way for the story to head at this point. So with that being said, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen, the organizers of chaos. Fuck you, Ultra Magnus. Yeah. Hey, Optimus! Good news! Deadbeard's ship is almost ready!
Oh, that's great, young Jen.
Yeah, so we'll be able to get out of your hair as soon as possible. Well, as soon as Deadbeard is done fixing up the ship and giving it cannons.
Oh, that's wonderful news.
You don't really sound excited.
No, it's not that. It's just, I think you may have given me what I needed to hear.
To stand out
Among the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud, till mine is the only face that you see. Gonna stand out
till you notice me.